They're pushing all the buttons, making it all go. So we'll get down to business here as we begin. Couple things. One I think is hilarious. The other not so much. Actually, there are two things that are not hilarious. And if I have time to get to the second one in the opening break, I will. But the one thing I wanted to open up with is we can talk about why they're pushing the vaccines, or they're pushing testing, or they're pushing mandates, or in particular though they're pushing vaccines. We can ask that question. The simple answer, right, the one you want to believe is that they're doing it for the greater good, right? They're doing it for the greater good. Folks are out there hoping, praying, wanting to do things for the greater good. And the problem is, most of us who live in the real world don't believe any of that stuff. We don't believe that I don't believe that they're doing it for the greater good. You can't get me to buy that for whatever reason. Well, there are a number of different reasons. One is it was just too forced. But the second one is in my hand right now. Pfizer reports $37 billion in COVID-19 vaccine sales for 2021. That's $37 billion. That's just Pfizer. So that's sales. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Their stock prices through the roof. Same goes for the other three. Well, Moderna in particular. It's just right there. That's how much they've reported in sales. It's top selling pharmaceutical product ever in a single year is this vaccine. So you can sit on, your high horse and tell me it's all about doing the right thing. But in the end, it's about the bottom line. Yeah. Pfizer's making money. A boatload of money. Now, I'm not against making money. I'm a capitalist. I think if you build a better mousetrap, you should be paid accordingly for that mousetrap. If you build a better computer platform, you should be paid for that. If you work hard, you bust your rear end, you rise through the ranks, you get to be a CEO and you make $200 million a year because of it, that's great. You should get that. Why am I punishing success? But this is a different case, because this is a case that has been force-fed down the throats of the American people. You will get a vaccine, or you will not work. You will get a vaccine, or you will not go to school. You will get a vaccine, or we're going to close you. Your business is going down the toilet. You'll get a vaccine, or you're not going to the game, or you're not going to a restaurant. You will do what we say. Otherwise, you're not going to get what you want. They've taken away your freedom, and it only cost all of us $37 billion for them to do it. Now, actually, $37 billion is peanuts, considering what they did to the economy. The absolute collapse of that, which some jobs will never come back, and some people will never come back. But don't forget that every time a needle is stuck in somebody's arm, there's a portion of that money. First of all, that comes from you, by the way. See, that's the other side of this. Not only is Pfizer making the money, $37 billion, but you're paying it whether you want to or not. See, that's the beauty of this. That's the beauty. It's not as if it was a product like a pair of sneakers or a bottle of, certain kind of water or exercise equipment or whatever it is that makes somebody wealthy. Tesla, a car. You didn't have a choice in some cases. You had to buy this. They forced it. Not only once, they forced it down some people's throats, twice and 3 times. They gave you no choice in some cases. How many people called this radio station and said to me over and over again, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I work in a school, or I work in a setting that's forcing me to get the vaccine. And we would have these talks on the air, and I didn't have an answer for them because, I didn't have an answer for what I was going to do if it happened to me. I don't want to lose all of you. I don't want to lose that dynamic, right? I don't know. Like, people had to make this incredibly hard choice: get an experimental vaccine or lose their job, lose their way of making money, lose their home, some cases, maybe lose their family. How many people, lost their jobs and their businesses, and as a result of that, because of the stress, they lost their families because of it. Wife left, husband left. They developed a drinking problem, got depressed, maybe developed a gambling problem. Good God, gambling has exploded. It is just, I'm going to read you some numbers about that a little bit later on. But I told you guys this was going to happen. And I can only imagine that it's going to get, worse as opposed to being better when it comes to folks getting hooked on the gambling part of it. But that's a whole different story. So I thought this was, I have to play. So that's the angry, I'm mad as hell kind of side of this. I want to play you the second part that makes me angry. So CNN, this is actually a couple weeks old, but I want to play. I've been meaning to play this, and it goes along with this. So we've been I'm trying to be a champion of the kids and the masks and the vaccines and the fact that their development for the last 3 years has, been severely stunted in a lot of different areas, socially in particular. I would think actually scholarly as well, because as I've said to you before, I'm taking some classes at Nichols College, and I actually enjoy it. It's a lot of work. I enjoy it, but there's actual Zoom classes, which I'm taking. I'm not going to the campus. I'm taking them online technically, but it's a Zoom room filled with college kids and then dopey me. But nobody's paying attention. Like, you can see that even me. I mean, after a little while, you tune it out. I'm answering emails. I'm doing other things while the Zoom thing is happening, and no one knows the difference. But everyone else, you can see everybody else is multitasking, doing stuff while the professor's giving a lecture. I feel bad for but the kids are doing the same thing. How is it possible they're getting the same kind of education at home when they were doing it that way than they were in school? Now, I know they're back, but still, there's this forced mask mandate, which now they're pulling off because it's totally political. Right? It was a power grab, and now it's because people are angry and there's an election coming up. You've got to back off this thing. But CNN was having this conversation, and they asked one of their left-leaning progressive commentators, what was the biggest underrated story or underreported story of 2021? And she said this. Of the year. Surprise, surprise.
For me, I mean, my kids hear me rant about this every day, so I may as well tell you guys. It's the crushing impact that our COVID policies have had on young kids and children. By far, the least serious risk for serious illness. But I mean, even teenagers, a healthy teenager has a 1 in a million chance of getting and dying from COVID, which is way lower than dying in a car wreck on a road trip. But they have suffered and sacrificed the most, especially kids in underrepresented, at-risk communities. And now we have the Surgeon General saying there's a mental health crisis among our kids. The risk of suicide attempts among girls now up 51% this year. Black kids nearly twice as likely as white kids to die by suicide. I mean, school closures, lockdowns, cancellation of sports. You couldn't even go on a playground in the DC area without cops scurrying, shooing the kids off. Tremendous negative impact on kids, and it's been an afterthought. Yeah. It's hurt their dreams, their future, learning loss, risk of abuse, their mental health. And now with our knowledge, our vaccines, if our policies don't reflect a more measured and reasonable approach for our children, they will be paying for our generation's decision the rest of their lives.
So there you go. And I probably couldn't agree with her more. And that was something we've been talking about forever. that the kids are the ones that are in the crossfire, and the adults, the progressive adults in the room, didn't seem to care about that very much. So you figured out from your end on how you feel this story should end. You can see, obviously, the wheels are coming off for them because they're backing off a lot of these policies that haven't worked and didn't work. And now, because we're and this is the sad part, now we're in an election cycle. It begins, right? Now we know. We have, sides that are being drawn up. You've got your Republican candidates for governor. You've got your Democrat candidate, Lamont. Now, senators are doing the same thing. And so they, as the people that had power or held power for the last year and a half, they dictated what they wanted as far as COVID, in particular the governor, right? He did what he wanted, and he got that power from the legislature, the Democrat side of the legislature. The Republicans wanted to have representation, but they were shut out. And the policies that were in place, most of them, or many of them, they didn't work. They were failed. They failed everybody, including the kids. And now here we are, as the election cycle changes into full throttle, full speed ahead. The governor now